Welcome to Power Your Profits podcast, your friendly guide in bringing your business revenue to the next level. Listen as host Dr. Susie Carter hears inspiring stories of success from her fellow entrepreneurs and transformational leaders. Prepare to make significant change to your strategies as they unravel the secrets of building multi-million-dollar businesses and the most effective tips on finance, marketing, and sales accountability. If you want to take your first steps towards explosive business growth, this podcast is for you. Without further ado, here is your host, Dr. Susie.
Welcome to today's episode of Power Your Profit podcast, where we bring you inspiring stories and valuable insights from trailblazers in the world of business. I'm your host, Dr. Susie Carter, and today I have a very special guest joining me, Monica Smiley. She's the editor and publisher of Enterprising Magazine, a leading publication that champions women entrepreneurs worldwide. Monica is not only a dynamic leader in publishing, but also an avid advocate for women in business. She founded Enterprising Women of the Year Awards, celebrating the achievements and contributions of female entrepreneurs globally. Today, Monica will share her journey, the challenges and triumphs she faced, and her vision for the future of women in business. Let's dive in. Monica, I am so excited to have you meet our community, and more importantly, our community meet you. Will you share your story behind founding Enterprising Women Magazine and what inspired you to start it?
Oh, thank you, Susie. Absolutely. I'd love to. Well, hard to believe, but we are coming up on the 25th anniversary of Enterprising Women Magazine next year. I can't believe it. So I have been a woman entrepreneur myself for many years, 40 plus years. I've been a journalist, a magazine publisher for my entire career. A quick recap, I guess, in the late 1990s, we had been publishing several magazines, and I was ready to do something a little bit different. We looked around to see if there was a magazine for women entrepreneurs, and there really wasn't at that time. Some of your listeners, if they're old enough, might remember Working Woman magazine, which was out there at the time, and it reached everybody from somebody getting their first job right out of college all the way through to women entrepreneurs. So they were trying to cover a lot, and really too much for one magazine. And so the year that we started, actually, they went out of business, actually. And we were looking around to see whether we could do this. We found Enterprising Women as a magazine that had existed in the mid-1990s. And NABA was involved with it. Some of your listeners may know the National Association of Women Business Owners. There were a handful of women involved in publishing it. And it was out for about 3 years and it went out of business. So we found the old magazine. They still had their website up, and we reached out and we purchased the rights to the Enterprising Women name, and started basically relaunched the magazine and started publishing in May of 2000 as a print magazine. A few years later, we added the digital magazine, and today that's really where most of our readership is. We have about 1 million readers around the world who get the digital magazine. The print magazine, I'm a print magazine publisher going way back, so I still like to hold a magazine. And so we still publish print magazine really for our leadership lists and to send to conferences and events and so forth. But we're really proud. I mean, we saw a few magazines come and go the first few years, but we really felt like there was such a need for something for women entrepreneurs, to be a voice for women entrepreneurs. Some of your listeners may know, going back to like the mid-1990s, there was really explosive growth in women's entrepreneurship in the US. One of the things that caused that was the Census Bureau started counting women entrepreneurs. They didn't actually count us until then. And, there was this idea that women were just working for pocket money, for small change. And they didn't really realize that, women were a force to be reckoned with. And, we started the Enterprising Women of the Year Awards in 2003. And that first year, Susie, we had only 3 winners of the award. We judged them by size of business. The top business was businesses with over 10 million in revenue. And we talked to our partners about it, groups like the Women Presidents Organization and others, and just said, where are we going to find a woman who has 10 million in revenue? Like, is there
Right.
such a thing, And several of them said, hey, they may be hiding under rocks, but there are a few of them out there. We'll find them. Well, years later now, 20 plus years later, our top revenue category is businesses with over 100 million in revenue. And for the last 5 years, we've had at least one winner with over $1 billion in revenue. So for me, I love looking back over the last 25 years just to see how women are scaling their companies. I know that's what you're all about, helping women scale. And we're just so proud that so many women have learned to scale their companies to incredible sizes. And they're in such a diverse number of industries now. Those early years, if it was a bigger company, it was probably an HR company, or there were a few handful of industries that women were growing larger businesses. Today, they're doing everything you can think of, right? So
Right.
it's been an interesting journey.
It's been exciting. I got chills. You're like, yes, we're doing billions now, right?
Yay! I know.
Which is exciting. So let's talk. What have been some of the biggest challenges you faced as a female leader? First, in the publishing industry, right? Because it's publishing was really male dominant, right? And I think a lot of us come up against that in business. And then how'd you overcome them?
It's a really tough industry, and it's an industry that has been completely transformed, as many have been, right, in the last decade or two. But in the early years of Enterprising Women, we had ad agencies doing ad buys. IBM, for example, was an early advertiser, and their ad agency in New York was our client, and they bought X number of pages of ads a year. It just doesn't work like that anymore. We have sponsors involved with the magazine who they don't just want a page of advertising. If they want to be involved with us, they want to do everything that we're involved in, right? They want to be at our conference. They want to work with us throughout the year. It's just the model is very, very different now. The other thing that we did, which really has been one of the keys to helping sustain us over all these years, was we started this advisory board early on. And Susie, you've been on our board for a number of years, and we're so appreciative for leaders like you who have done that. But I reached out to a woman named Marcia Firestone, who founded the Women Presence Organization close to 30 years ago, and told Marcia that I wanted to start an advisory board for the magazine. This was back in 2003, right? Over 20 years ago. And she said, well, I'll tell you what I think you should do. Let's start it as a membership board that will help sustain the magazine. And let's gather the top women entrepreneurs in the country who've reached a level of success with their own companies. They're willing to give back to sustain what you're doing. So some of it's philanthropic, but we also want to make sure that we give them a lot of great exposure, a lot of marketing value for being a part of our board. And they're going to be able to write in the magazine. They're going to be able to speak at your conferences. They're going to be able to connect in a lot of ways with other outstanding women. It was brilliant. I mean, she really gave us such great advice. And we started the advisory board that way with a handful of women. I think we had 13 women on the board initially. Today, we have over 150 women on our advisory board. Some of them have been on the board since the very beginning, and some have even sold their companies. And the only thing they continue to do is to stay on our board, to stay connected and to be able to speak and write and stay out there. So I think that model has just been so important for us. And just also, what's behind it is that we are all about women sharing their best practices, right? If you've learned how to do something, if you've made a bunch of mistakes, share with other women what you've done to be able to grow. How did you do it? And, be open and be willing to do that. And our board members are willing to do that. So when you pick up an issue of Enterprising Women and look through it, you'll see a lot of author credits at the end of the article that say, Susie is a member of the Enterprising Women Advisory Board. And not every article is from a board member, but 90% of them are. So we're pulling together the thought leaders, the best minds in women's entrepreneurship, and asking them to share whatever it is they do best that has helped them reach a level of success. And that has really resonated with our readers. They really value it and appreciate it. So.
Right. Enterprising Women is one of the first organizations like, where are my people? Right. Because we don't want to always be the smartest one in the room. I'm like, I know there are other women who are smart and like-minded. Where are they? And it's just been a blessing, from the friendships to the collaborating to, the insight in the community. You've done a great job. Talk about the Woman of the Year award and the prestigious program, and what was the vision behind creating that, and how has it evolved?
So it actually started, Susie. We were going to do an issue on women in the food industry.
Mhm.
And we had a woman in mind that had the largest women-owned catering company in the business, a woman named Rona Silver. And so I did an interview with her, and she said, well, Monica, if I'm going to be involved in this, I need to be on the cover. And I said, well, okay, you you probably deserve to be on the front cover. And she said, now, if you ever want to do an event of some kind, I'll be glad to do it for you in New York. And I said, well, I was thinking about doing a special issue of the magazine to name just a group of top women of the year, right? 10 women, 20 women of the year. But I said it would be really fun to do something and actually honor them, in person. So she
Yes.
said, no problem, I'll do it. Done. So for the first couple of years, we started the Enterprising Women of the Year Awards, and we only had 3 winners the first year. And Rona sponsored it and did this just incredible reception in Manhattan with flowing chocolate fountains and lobster. It was so over the top. I said,
Right.
I
Raise
will
the
never,
bar, right?
yeah, I'll never be able to do this, without her. So she did it for a couple of years, and Disney had come on to our advisory board, and because we have about 20 Fortune 500 companies on the board. And they said, we love what you're doing. We would love to see you turn this into a couple of day event. Would you consider coming down to Disney if we agreed to be the premier sponsor of it? And so we asked our board at the time, and they said, as long as you don't pick a hotel with so many screaming kids that it's, that
Right.
we can't walk through the lobby. So we went down to the Grand Floridian Resort. And for the next, I guess, probably 7 years, Disney had that lead sponsorship position until the recession, I guess in 2008, and they had to pull back on sponsorships. They had laid off about 5,000 people, and they couldn't. But we were pretty well branded to doing the event at that point. And we kept it in Florida actually for a number of years. This coming year will be the first year we're actually going to be outside of Florida for the first time. But we really created an event that just grew and grew and grew over the years. We now choose about 100 women every year.
Yeah.
And your listeners are absolutely invited and welcome to apply for the Enterprising Women of the Year Award. We're one of the few awards programs that there is no nomination fee to apply. You just go on enterprisingwomen.com. They open up October 1st every year, and they're open for about 2 months. And it's best if the person nominates themselves. We do have PR firms and others that go in and nominate people, but the questions are pretty personal. And it's really helpful if the entrepreneur herself answers them, because they're things like, where do you want the company to be in 5 years?
Right.
And how are you going to get there? And what's the greatest challenge you faced and how did you overcome it? And it's tough for anybody else to answer a question like that. So it's great if the woman herself answers it. So we do the selection by the end of the year, and by the 1st of January or so, we announce the honorees. And then we do a conference every year in the spring. This year, it's going to be the last week in March. It's going to be in Nashville this year, it looks like. And, it's a 2.5-day event. So we do a gala dinner to honor the honorees. We also have just a really wonderful separate nonprofit foundation called the Enterprising Women Foundation. And for the last 10 years, we've been doing a program to mentor young women called our Young Enterprising Women Mentoring Forums. So we started these, and I know you are a good friend of Edie Frazier's. We all know and love Edie, who's been a mentor of mine for many years. Edie encouraged me to start this foundation, like I said, about 10 years ago. And Edie was involved with starting an initiative called STEM Connector and Million Women Mentors. And Susie, I think we were on a panel together once for Million Women Mentors. So we were looking at what we could do to make a difference. And we decided that we would like to go into local cities and produce an event at a high school, basically pulling together women entrepreneurs from the community particularly those in the STEM fields. And it's not exclusively STEM. We always say because the M in STEM is for math, that brings in business. So it's, a number of industries, but we particularly like to represent women CEOs of IT companies and healthcare companies and engineering firms and so forth, just to showcase those STEM fields for girls who are high achieving in math, science, or technology and don't have the mentors, and to also plant the seed of entrepreneurship by showing them presidents and CEOs of women-led companies. We like to say you can't be what you can't see. So in the early years, we just did these anywhere we had board members who were interested in doing them. Now we're pretty focused on identifying underserved high schools. So when we go into a community, we look for the schools where the program is needed the most. We've reached particularly a lot of young women of color through the program in the last few years. And this last year, we were in 18 cities with this event. This year, we'll be in about 30 cities. And then there's a scholarship component to it. So our local events try to raise a little money. Our foundation also hosts one scholarship for every city where we do these. And then if the local city raises dollars, like Nashville, as an example, loves to, fire up all year to do this. And they sent 10 students to the Enterprising Women Conference. So we've built out a 2-day program at our awards conference. And we have a group of scholarship girls come in and we do leadership training. We match them with mentors, public speaking, self-confidence building, really try to give the girls, a real boost, and also a way to reconfirm that we believe in them, that doors are opening for them, and that they've got a supportive group of women behind them. So,
you're listening to another episode of Power Your Profits podcast. We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors. Overwhelmed by the complexity of business profit strategies? Jump aboard the Bullet Train to Big Profits course, a streamlined solution by Dr. Susie Carter. This course is designed to uncomplicate the path to profitability. Imagine being able to identify and execute profit strategies with ease, skyrocketing your revenues. Visit course.poweryourprofits.com and sign up for the Bullet Train to Big Profits course today. Are you tired of pouring resources into strategies that don't work? Say hello to Dr. Susie Carter, your future fractional COO. With Dr. Susie in your corner, your business can skyrocket to 7 figures and beyond. With a track record of creating thriving businesses, trust that you are in good hands. Head over to coo.poweryourprofits.com and let us put some magic into your business growth.
That is awesome, right? Just crazy.
we love it. Everybody involved with it is passionate about it. So it's great.
Looking back in 40 years of business, right? I can't believe we've been doing business that long. I'm kind of in the same boat. Like, wait, how did that happen?
I know. Scary.
I feel like I just got started. What would you say the traits are to make that you've seen us being successful as women entrepreneurs? What are those traits that you see that we all have in common?
Yeah, I think resiliency is incredibly important because it can be a rocky road, right? You're going to go through some things along the way that really challenge you and make you think, let's just throw in the towel. This isn't going to work. And I've had those moments, absolutely throughout all these decades. But I think, believing in yourself, being resilient, being brave, taking risks, sticking your neck out, probably further than you should have. Really building a community around you is so incredibly important. I mean, just, having a tribe, having a group of people who believe in you, who you can turn to when you need help, is just incredibly important. I always joke with enterprising women that, we're like the mafia. Once you get into the family, you never get out, So
You're so inspiring, Monica. Every time I talk to you, I get all excited again. I'm like, yes.
Good. Oh, no, we love it. And, it's such an incredible group of women. And when we come to a conference, people are just wanting to wrap their arms around each other. They're not, everybody's reached a level of success. So there's a self-confidence there, and they're really, giving people who they want to lend a hand to others. They want to, they want to be there for other women, and, they'll get what they need to, of course, everybody does in the end, but, and so I love that spirit. And then with the Enterprising Women of the Year Award, we look at, first of all, you have to be a majority women-owned business or be a partner in a company like a law firm, accounting firm, et cetera. But you have to show 3 years of increasing revenues. Company has to be in business at least 3 years, first of all. Very few people win if they've just been in business 3 years. Most people have been around longer than that. But we look at 3 years of increasing revenues. We look at leadership. What are they doing in their community? I always say it's not enough to run a great business. You've got to be giving back in significant ways. So we look at that, and we look at how they're mentoring other women or girls, through a formal program or informally. They need to be doing something to give back to other women and girls. That mentorship piece has always been really important to us. So those are kind of the 3 criteria that we look at. We also give out a champion award, just like a finalist. So, and if you're a champion, you can apply again in a future year. If you win the Enterprising Women of the Year Award, it's a once in a lifetime award. You only win it once. You can put it on your resume forever, or your bio forever. But so when you get women together in the room who have financially strong growing businesses, they're leaders, they're giving back, you can't help but have a great event because they're the right kind of people that you want in the room, right? And combined with our advisory board, and they're the same kind of women as well. It's just an incredible environment, right?
Yeah. I was involved in another group. I think I joined around the same time, but I came back and told my team, I'm like, they were like the mean girls. I'm too old to be playing a mean girl game. It was so silly.
No.
Why? There's so much room, right, for us to be supportive of each other. And I think that's what I love most about playing with you and working with you. What trends are you seeing right now in entrepreneurship, and how will these trends shape our future?
Well, I think, women are still dealing with the post-pandemic. I hate to even use the phrase post-pandemic. We want to wipe that out of our memories, I know. But, business really has transformed since then. So many people have reshaped their companies. People are dealing with virtual workforces or a hybrid now where some people are coming back and they're still trying to make it work with a virtual force. And I think that's going to continue. That's going to be forever. I think that especially for those 20s and 30 somethings who have experienced a new way of working, they don't want to go back. So I think you just have to embrace it and figure out a way to make it work for your company. And we've got women on the board who have done that, who are phenomenal. One board member who has an entirely virtual workforce with 1,200 employees and has built this entire culture around building teams and building culture, even though everybody's virtual. So it can be done. And if you need to have people back in the office, of course, you can find a way to do the best of both. But so I think, it's a different environment out there, right? I'm sure it's hard to find, those great people that you need to build your team. I talk to people all the time who are saying that they're ready to grow, they want to grow, but they're having a challenge finding, the people that they really need. So that continues to be, I think, a tough challenge for us, which is why you've got to be open and sort of embrace how you put that employee first, how you really build a culture that, is someplace that people really want to be. And right, they want to stay, they want to help you build. So that's probably a key concern that we hear more than anything here lately, Susie.
Yeah, I hired a new operations person. I had to go through over 1,000 resumes. It was insane. And, people are applying and they're not qualified. And so it's just so frustrating. And like, where are the people? And, nobody wants to work full time anymore. They all want to work gigs or projects or, so you do have to be flexible. You have to be willing to go, okay, I'm going to be fluid and flexible. What do I need? What do I need right now? What's most important to me? The same thing, finding a new marketing person. We went through probably about the same 1,200 to 1,500 resumes, right? Of going through, rating them all, looking at them all. I mean, it took so much time. It's always been a big lift to hire people and find the right talent. But man, it's a whole new world, right?
It
Now,
really is.
we are global now. So talk about, how you're fostering the sense of community among the global businesses that we're working with.
Yeah, and I mentioned to you, I just got back from the Global Summit of Women in Madrid, which your listeners who are interested in global might be interested in what that's all about. So one of our very longtime board members, Irene Natividad, started the Global Summit of Women. I don't know exactly when. I think it's been at least 35 years. So it's been around a long time. She moves it around the world to a different continent every year. And it's a gathering of women entrepreneurs, corporate women from like the VP level and higher, women in government from the cabinet level and higher. Every woman president of a country has been there, women who won the Nobel Prize. It's really an incredible mix of women. I was able to speak and lead a panel on scaling your business. They have an entrepreneurial track for it. And I've had an opportunity to attend quite a number of times, I think maybe 11 times or so. So I've been all over the world attending and speaking at it over the years. And what you learn is that, we're pretty much all alike from the very first one that I went to. Within 10 minutes, everyone had shared a little bit about their companies, a little bit about their families. And, I've said for years, as ridiculous as it sounds, if women ran the world, there would be peace on earth because we all get along so well, within, at a table of women from many different countries within a very short period of time, we were all on the same page, right? So I think the problems are universal. There are some areas where women entrepreneurs in the US probably have a little bit of an edge in terms of the support from the government, even though access to capital is still a tough challenge. It's probably still easier in the US than it is in a lot of other countries. So, I mean, there are some challenges that do vary around the globe, but most of the problems are universal. We have more in common than apart. So, and so our readership is in 185 countries. From the very first global summit that I attended, which was in Marrakesh, Morocco, in I believe it was 2002, I had about 50 copies of the magazine with me. I put them out on a table. I went to use the ladies' room and came back, and they were gone. And then for the next 6 months, I had people emailing me from all over the world saying, we don't have anything like this in our country. What can we do, to get enterprising women? Which is why we started with a digital magazine. And within a very short period of time, we had readers in 50 countries and today pretty much everywhere. So, we'll get people sending us inquiries and questions. I had one not too long ago literally from a remote village in India. And somebody had, so I love it because women everywhere need help growing their businesses. And like I said, we share many of the same problems and, many of the same challenges. So it's great that we can be a global community.
Right. I love that. One of my training companies, we were Salon Training International, and we realized, we started getting events all over the world, and they're like, oh, do you have a French trainer? Do you have a German trainer? Do you have no, I guess if we're international, we need to have people who speak anything but English, right? So learning to work with interpreters. And I realize business is business, right? There's nuances, like you said, in each country and things you have to be aware of, and conversion rates and tax rates. But the reality, business is business, right? We're all looking at sales, marketing, operations, and finance, and how do we do more and create a legacy? What I'm proud of most of you is that you've done, Monica, is you've really created a legacy for yourself, for the community, for your family, to make a profound difference. Every time I talk to you, it's about how can we serve the membership? How can we serve our clients? How can we serve the women which, is awesome. And I think if we all have that mindset, how much farther that we can go. Are you working on any
Thank you,
initiatives?
Susie.
You're welcome. What are your initiatives and projects you're currently working on, and what are you most excited about?
Well, we are working hard to double the size of the Enterprising Women Foundation this year, as I mentioned. So we're going from, instead of doing events in 18 cities, we're going to be doing them in about 30 cities. We're trying to scale all those events larger. For example, we just did an event this last year at North Carolina State University. I'm based in North Carolina. And instead of just hosting at one high school, it was for the entire school district. So this year we'll have 32 high schools participating in one event. And instead of being at a school, it's in a ballroom, at a university. So we're looking at ways in most of the cities that if it's possible to scale and to involve many more girls, many more high schools, we're looking at ways to do that. We also added a financial literacy program about a year and a half ago. I've been on the board of a group called the Institute for Consumer Money Management. That's a research institute that's based here in North Carolina. A friend of mine started it a number of years ago, and they developed a financial literacy program for kids, basically ages 10 to 20, 3 games that they can play that teach financial literacy skills. And Duke University and Nova Labs that does educational programming with PBS put these together. So we've now incorporated them into our Young Enterprising Women program. So we're now teaching financial literacy all over the country as well, which I think is really super important. We're really pleased to do that. In terms of the magazine itself, just continuing to grow, continuing to reach more readers. We are in production on our summer issue right now. Another piece for the foundation I didn't mention, there's an organization called the IEW, Institute for Economic Empowerment of Women. I've been involved with that program for 17 years, and I've served on their board of directors for the last 11 years. They had some changes with their founder getting ready to retire, and the board voted in January to turn the Peace Through Business program over to the Enterprising Women Foundation. So we are now starting in January running that program as well. And we have a in-country facilitator for Rwanda, where we do the program, and for Afghanistan. She is now based in the US, but we're still running the Afghanistan program virtually. And we have a large group of women entrepreneurs in that country that we're working with who really need our help. We're expanding the program into Uganda this year, as well as Canada, looking at other countries. We may look at Morocco. So that's a program that basically trains women in those countries to become entrepreneurs. It's either an 8-week or 12-week program that they go through. They write a business plan, they go all the way through it, they graduate, they're paired with a mentor for e-mentoring. And then in the spring or summer, they come to the US. Difficult to get the Afghan women now, unfortunately, out of the country, but some of the Rwandan women will come and actually be a part of the Enterprising Women Conference next year, which we're excited about, and get some additional training and mentorship in the country. And then there's actually a large group of Afghan women who have left the country since it fell to the Taliban, and they're now in the US and they're trying to start over. So we're looking at ways that we can work with some of those women as well. So that's a passion project for me. I've been involved with it, as I said, for many years. I love it. I've mentored in that program for years. I've had women from both countries, Rwanda and Afghanistan, stay in my home. And we're really thrilled that it's going to be part of the Enterprising Women Foundation now moving forward. So that's a big deal.
We all have 8 hours in a day, right? How Monica's doing it all. That's pretty exciting.
Well, and it came with a team of some great people who've been running this program for a long time. So that's helpful. We've got and I've been on their board long enough that I would think I was their longest serving board member. So I have the background, which is helpful. I have the history, and that helps a lot. But we've also got some really wonderful women involved. And then the founder, Terry Neese, is actually an ambassador for the program now. So she's staying involved and helping out in a lot of ways too. So really proud of that.
What do you want to be remembered for?
A theme throughout my life has really been about empowering women, right? Educating, inspiring, empowering women. I was a rabble-rousing feminist in my 20s and 30s, working on equal rights, reproductive rights, all the basic women's issues, so critical. Now my focus is more on the economic empowerment of women through entrepreneurship, but the common theme is really supporting and empowering women to do everything that they can do, right? And really proud that Enterprising Women I think, played an important role in really bringing the women's business community together in many ways, being a bridge between a lot of the different organizations that are out there, giving women a voice, and just a place to share best practices and really learn to grow and scale their businesses.
I love it. Juicy. What's one question you wish I would have asked you?
Oh, gosh. How am I going to relax and do less this summer? I'm not sure it's possible, but I'm hoping that I can. I moved into a new house in the fall, and I still have not put a picture on the wall. So, so this summer I'm going to try to fully finish moving into my house and hang some pictures. Right.
Awesome. Well, Monica, I just appreciate you. Thank you for tuning into this episode. And we hope that you found Monica Smiley's journey and her insights inspiring as much as I do. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, rate, and review our podcast on your favorite platform. But more importantly, share it with somebody that needs to hear Monica's message. And if you want to get a hold of Monica, you can reach out to her on our website at Enterprising Women, also Inspiring Women, but enterprisingwomen.com. I'm your host, Dr. Susie Carter. I look forward to serving each of you and appreciate the time that we've spent together, Monica. Always a joy and a blessing. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your gift to our industry, the gift to women. I value you. I appreciate you. And whatever I can do for you, you can always ask.
Thank you, Susie. Keep doing the great things that you're doing. We love you and appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Power Your Profits podcast. Let these building blocks from today's most successful industry leaders equip you with the necessary resources and tools to finally establish the highly profitable business of your dreams. Want to hear more? Listen to more episodes at www.poweryourprofitspodcast.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the show. Now is your time to rise to the top of your game. So be sure to catch our next episode. Until next time.